Child's Play 2019 is directed by Lars Klebberg, who directed Polaroid, written by Tyler Burton Smith, who wrote for the video game Quantum Break, No Really, and a few other things. You can check out his IMDb. And this has characters based on the iconic characters by Don Mancini. You know, the Child's Play movies. If you want a brief rundown of the Child's Play movies, a killer doll kills people. That's about it. It did get a little sillier and into more of the comedy element by the time we got out away from number 3 and got to Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, and then it got a little bit weird. I think Curse of Chucky was one of them, Cult of Chucky. It got a little bit out of hand, but it's about a doll that kills people. That's pretty much what it was. Unlike in the 1988 version, which is a brief rundown, and sorry I might spoil some of this stuff, but you know, it's been 31 years. You have a serial killer, whatever, you know, it didn't really matter. He's a criminal, and he uses spoopy hoodoo and voodoo and everything and spoopy stuff and puts his spirit in a doll. This kid's doll gets into a boy's home by the name of Andy, and you know, his parents and stuff like that, they're like, hey, you got a new doll and everything, you got Chucky. Well, it turns out that maybe having a doll with the spirit of a serial killer is not a great toy for a young boy. And that rhymed, and I didn't even intend to. And of course, this serial killer wants to get out of the doll and wants to get into a body, so he keeps trying to do stuff to Andy to take over his body. It's kind of like The Prodigy, except Child's Play 1988 was far better. I hated The Prodigy. I did a review of it. Check out a playlist I may put at the end of this video, or just check it out on the channel. But with this, they bring it into the modern age and everything. So it's pretty much just a goddamn reboot. This time, instead of doing all the spoopiness and everything with a serial killer putting his spirit in a doll's body, nope. It's now an AI program. Kaslan Industries, Kaslan, Sky. They might as well call it Skynet or Kaslan, the Kaslan Corporation, or the umbrella Kaslan Corporation. All we needed was zombie dogs, zombies, and Milla Jovovich, and that would have actually vastly improved this movie. But no, we get an AI program, the buddy program, not the buddy system where, you go in pairs whenever you're on a field trip. No, it's the buddy program, and it's a doll, and it's a goofy Chucky doll and everything, even though it's called Buddy, and the Chucky name is given later. It's something that can control your Roomba from this same corporation, and your TV, and your temperature gauge, and a whole bunch of stuff. It can control all of your Kaslan, technology. Because nothing could ever go wrong in a horror movie having a doll that's an AI program, basically just a conduit for AI stuff and everything, controlling all your shit. Because technology never malfunctions in these movies. Fortunately, we don't get much of that until way later, and I'll get into spoilers a little bit later in this review. But obviously it's alluded to, well, maybe this isn't the best idea. No, cheesy commercial with a boy, like a boy and a girl. Hey, you're my buddy, right? You're my best friend. Okay. And my main issues, and I do want to say right now, Aubrey Plaza, who I love, adore. She is funny. She is dark. She is greatly comedic, and she's friggin' knockout. I absolutely love her. I think she's great. She was in Life After Bad, Parks and Recreation, and a bunch of other movies. I believe she's in a series called Legion. And, she's just great. I will watch her in just about anything. Check out her IMDb, but she is great. Great interviews. Simply love her. You got the voice of Chucky, Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill, unfortunately, is very wasted in this, and that's really one of my main complaints. I loved him voicing the Joker in Batman the Animated Series and so many other incarnations from then, since like the original animated series, or at least the one in the 90s. Not the Super Friends version, dear God, we don't need that. He felt kind of wasted here. He had flashes where he was able to have a little more fun, but otherwise he felt kind of muted. Maybe they just threw his name out there and that was about it. You also got a detective character, Token Black Guy. I'm not knocking the actor, it's just the way the character was written. And you have the boy, playing Andy, who was an actor from Lights Out. So the cast, while not great, is certainly not bad. I will say that one thing I do like about this movie, and one thing I liked about what the director wanted to do, and also the special effects stuff, The doll looked absolutely silly, absolutely ridiculous, couldn't take it seriously, and I mean at all. Now, maybe that was the idea. It was a bit of a throwback to 80s slashers and stuff like that with some of the styles. They even had the Orion Pictures logo pop up, which was the studio that did the original Child's Play movies. So that was a nice little throwback. I like some of the music, the synthesized music. At least I hope I said that word right. I tend to screw up some words, especially when I'm really tired. But with this, it was a nice little throwback, and you had some really good practical effects. The special effects, once they showed the doll and everything, was kind of silly. It obviously was budgetary constraints or studio interference, but there were some really good gore effects, some really good death scenes that were very practically done, and you could clearly tell the director had a vision to do that. So I actually enjoyed that stuff quite a bit. So all the movie needed, it had some good comedy. It had some nice little, pop culture references and that kind of stuff, and there was some good atmosphere. All the movie needs with the comedy, the good acting, the fact that it has Aubrey Plaza in it, and some other stuff. All it needs is to earn that big, big blue check mark as be scary. And that's where the movie shits the bed, unfortunately. Now, none of the Child's Play movies were necessarily scary, but this wasn't. This was like where I was mainly laughing. And granted, if it was intended to just simply be a dark comedy, then you know what? It pulled it off just fine. It pulled it off just fine. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was a lot of fun. That being said, there are plenty of one-note characters, and it felt very rushed. Like at 90 minutes, they had some good pacing, but then there were like subplots they seemingly forgot. It's like they were going to do something between the mother and the cop, and they forgot that. And then Andy's friends with some kids, and then he's not, and then he suddenly is. They're saving him, and all this, or that he's saving them. A whole bunch of weird stuff. It just felt very thrown together. It's like they were throwing a whole bunch of shit, like a whole bunch of 80s references, pop culture stuff about technology taking over your lives, and family, and a whole bunch. They were just throwing a whole bunch of shit, and some of it stuck and some of it didn't. Now, I won't fault the director. I won't fault the writer. Maybe it's just studio stuff. Maybe it was budgetary. It could have been a whole bunch of reasons. So I am going to get into spoilers right here. I will say that if you enjoyed the Child's Play movies, there's something to be had here. Is it something you need to see in theaters? No. But is it something that you'll regret seeing in theaters? No, and I had no expectations for it. I ended up enjoying it overall. So now I'm going to get into spoilers. Here we go. 7, 30, 3, 2, 1, and go. If you're still watching, I've got spoilers here. There's an abusive boyfriend that ends up meeting his end. And a pretty cool death scene. It's the one where, if you've seen the trailers, he has the Christmas lights and that kind of stuff. He ends up falling off the ladder. The ladder slips down, and he drops down. And his legs just split. The bones just split up, past the knees and everything. It's really freaking gory. And there's this rototiller that ends up chopping off his head and everything, and kind of taking his face off, which was pretty damn cool. Earlier in the movie, you have the buddy system and everything. It's kind of a broken one because, you have, of course, these dolls are put together in a Vietnamese sweatshop, because what dolls aren't put together in a Vietnamese sweatshop? And I'm not mocking it, but still, instead of the serial killer stuff and all the spoopiness, you have a guy that was seemingly pulled off the streets, according to the subtitles and everything, yet he's programming this particular buddy doll. And yet is somehow able to do this shit and everything, despite the fact he was taken out from the streets. Okay, so if he's that much of a computer whiz, then he's probably going to cause some other shit pretty damn quickly. He's probably going to cause a whole lot of shit. He takes off all the stuff, the violence, restrictions, and, the command stuff. Basically, he gives them a mind of his own. He takes away, he gives the AI free will, which is what robots should not have. Because, they can be fucking deadly. So that was a little bit funny, but they had to establish that this is all different and everything. It's not a serial killer in a body. It's just some guy just putting together something with a weird, goofiness, like for, the technology and all that. So it was a little bit weird. Once things got going and you had the abusive boyfriend get killed, and you had the fact that Andy and Chucky had some good chemistry and that kind of stuff, that was pretty cool. I didn't like that the cat died. I didn't like that. They didn't show the cat dying. They did show one point where it was teased. I'm not a fan of animal abuse. I did not like that. I get why they did it. I'm not gonna dock the movie for that. But I didn't like that. But there were some other good gore effects. There's this really creepy hotel manager, or apartment manager, that's installing cameras everywhere. And eventually, it turns out that after Chucky has clearly killed, this abusive boyfriend, skinned his face off and everything, put it on a watermelon because he wanted to make Andy happy. Because earlier, Andy and a few of his friends were watching a Texas Chainsaw Massacre knockoff movie that seemed to be about 3 different movies mixed into one. Somebody's face got pulled off, and they were all laughing about the fact that the face got pulled off. Since he has no recourse or he has no way of understanding right from wrong, he just thinks, okay, violence is fun. So he ends up, killing the abusive boyfriend and then putting the face over the watermelon thinking that he will, appeal to Andy. Well, Andy ends up taking out a CPU thing. This hotel manager or apartment manager gets him, thinks he's going to sell him on eBay, restarts him, gives him like a brand new CPU and everything, because that's a great thing that you do once you find a doll in a dumpster. You don't throw it away. No, you do that. And he's got this weird little goofy Iron Man lair and stuff like that. But he meets an end by fall by his feet getting cut off on a table saw, and then his balls get cut off on the table saw, or his balls get cut off by this table saw. So that was pretty cool. And then later there's some other goofiness and everything. There's this weird sequence at the end where these new systems are coming out from Castlin, Buddy 2, Electric Boogaloo, where they're brand new systems and everything and stuff like that. There's even bears and stuff like that, and new skin tones and hair colors. And of course, naturally, they go nuts and everything, and they start killing when Chucky's, AI, infuses with them and everything. And it's like, okay, hey, let's just start killing each other. Or let's start killing the humans and everything. Because Chucky wants to just have Andy, and if he can't have Andy, then nobody can. So it was fun. It wasn't great. The movie does imply a sequel. I will say that at the end. But there's enough fun with it. Now, is it great? No. I will say that if you try to think too deeply into it, it does get a little bit ridiculous. And there are a whole bunch of things that are just thrown together that don't necessarily get resolved. Like, sensibly. It's like, just like I said, subplots and other shit's thrown all over the place. But overall, I will say it's fun. Now, great? No. I'm going to say C+. I may put a poll up here, so just let me know what you think there. And let me know in the comments. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. I want to know, how do you guys think this compared to the previous Child's Play? Do you think it was just as fun? Do you think it was more fun? Do you think it was kind of on par comedy-wise with Bride of Chucky, See You Chucky, that kind of stuff? Because I admit to not being a fan of the Child's Play movies. I was like, well, fuck, I need to give it a chance. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. Now, it wasn't great. But anyway, C+, like I said, pull up there. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.